Let's talk about the Tennessee Volunteers and why I don't think it's out of the question for UT to return to the college football playoff. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If that is something you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think that Tennessee can return to the college football playoff in 2025? And I have one mind-blowing stat that can tell you right away whether or not that's going to happen. Or I should say, continue to watch this stat, because as this stat shows up, you're going to see how good or how bad Tennessee is. But first, let's acknowledge that Josh Heupel has been doing one hell of a job at the University of Tennessee. I could not be more proud of a guy that played quarterback at Oklahoma, won Oklahoma its last national championship, grew up as an offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, had a falling out with Bob Stoops, and then made it happen at Central Florida, and made it happen at, yes, the University of Tennessee. Heupel is one of the great dudes we got in all of college football. And I've said this before. He helped me personally when I was a very young beat writer, just trying to get my bearings and understand when you're covering a team like Oklahoma, you're essentially covering a professional team. And that is how the public treats it, it's how fans treat it, it's how the coaches treat it. While also talking about teenagers and high school and the NFL draft. And Heupel would take a little bit more time with me as I got to know him to explain things or to fill me in, just stuff on background from time to time, as well as just talk ball with me. I still give a lot of the wisdom that he gave to me to other players when it's applicable, because it really is that cool. He's a dude that plays the numbers game. What's the box look like? What's the box count? Like, football is not a difficult sport, he would say. Take what the defense is giving you. And if that means throwing the ball down the field, by all means, let it rip. If that means a light box, run the football. And I think people forgot this with Hendon Hooker and the outstanding 2022 season they had. And I never forgot that, but you could see that was a team that was very happy to go fast and take the top off the defense, because that's what the defense is willing to give them. And more to the point, that's where their strengths were. Like, if you don't have the ability to take what the defense is giving you, let's say they're giving you a light box, but you can't run the ball, you still got to throw it. You got to do what's best for you. I think Colorado in this manner, right? Colorado couldn't run the ball for jack last year. Worst rushing team in all of FBS, and they had to throw the ball, move the ball, so they did. Last year, you couldn't really count on Tennessee to throw the ball, to move the ball. It was a run-oriented offense, and it needed to be, because Nico Iamaleava just couldn't see it. They were max protect with two guys in routes and a lot of the time against the schedule that ain't no gimme, but looks more or less the same going into this year. So he returns Tim Banks, which is great, right? You got your defensive coordinator, who was a Broyles Award finalist and helped guide Tennessee to its first college football playoff appearance ever. You're also talking about having to do this without Nico Iamaleava, who staged the first holdout in college football history when a refuser showed up at practice, or he would enter the portal if he did not get a raise on the $2+ million that he was going to get paid this year. And they said, kick rocks. And he basically does what on paper looks like a trade with UCLA, with Joey Aguilar going into the portal after Nico Iamaleava goes in the portal at UCLA, comes out at Tennessee. But for all of us that are in there, we know this was a mess. And frankly, it was a mess we all love to watch. Like, the numbers show this too. We were wrapped with our attention on what Nico Iamaleava and Tennessee were doing. And more people are on Tennessee's side with this. You're not going to have players that hold programs like Tennessee hostage because they want to get a raise, especially when you didn't do anything that people believe you deserves a raise. And let's not be coy here. The SEC will pay you for winning. Like, they're not going to be shy. If you overperform, they will pay you like you overperform. Because in the South, and at least in nothing else, when we talk about football, we understand what moves the needle, and we're willing to pay for it to keep moving if that would need to happen, but we're not going to overpay for something you didn't do. So he lands at UCLA. Joey Aguilar comes back, and now Heupel has to hold together a program that looked like it was going to take a step back, and then you pump the brakes and look at what they got in the cupboard there. Joey Aguilar threw for 6,760 yards and 56 TDs over the last 2 years. I realize that was at Appalachian State, but when he's on, he can sling it. He can run this offense. It'll be okay. Yes, I'm not really going to entertain Jake Mecklinger as starting quarterback. I think Joey Aguilar showed up and is getting paid a 7-figure salary to play quarterback week 1 and to be good by week 3. We'll get to that. I think the chief concern for Tennessee right now has to be the offensive line. You return Lance Hurd, which is great, right? It's one of the best left tackles in the game. You add Sam Pendleton as it transfers, going to play some guard for you from Notre Dame. Now you got to make sure that you're good everywhere else. They had a really great offensive line, particularly against in run blocking, and trying to find a replacement for Cooper May is just going to be really difficult for anybody, let alone Tennessee. And then Dylan Sampson's gone. He of the 1,491 yards, 22 rushing scores last year. They do have Peyton Lewis, Deshaun Bishop, and Star Thomas, and we expect at least 2 of those guys to get the bulk of the carries, if not one of those guys. My money is on Deshaun Bishop. I think that dude's a stud. There's a lot of people think Peyton Lewis is the guy, and Star Thomas didn't show up here to not play. I think they got dudes over there. On the wide receiver side, losing Squirrel White doesn't help you, right? But Chris Braswell needs to step up, getting him in, and I think it's his turn to be the number 1. Let's see what he can do. Let's see what kind of partnership he can get on the outside. Might be the weakest position in that offense this year. Defensively, they're still good. They're not as stacked as they were last year, but they're still very, very good. Like the 3 best players on the University of Tennessee roster, I think, all play defense. Jamar McCoy, obviously, almost knocked down the microphone. Jamar McCoy obviously was their best DB last year with 13 passes defended. Passes defended is accounting for pass breakups and INTs. He had 4 interceptions last year, not too damn shabby. And then Bryson Eason and Joshua Josephs combined for like 16 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. But again, they weren't James Pierce, right? Like they're going to have to earn it this year in a way that they haven't had to last year. But I still think super talented, and they can be great for you. The schedule looks almost the same from last year, just in reverse for all the games that matter. There's one big rub, though. Open up SEC play against Georgia, week 3. Yikes. It's a program that Tennessee hasn't beaten since 2016. It's a program that really is the benchmark for everybody in the SEC. You can go get a win against them. You can get a win against anybody. That's why Ole Miss was so frustrated to miss the playoff last year, because they knew they were good. They beat Georgia. Florida knew it was good. It damn near beat Georgia. Texas knew it was good. Couldn't get past Georgia, right? Then Tennessee turns around and go beat Bama, right? We're also looking at games against Oklahoma, Florida, and then a good Syracuse, but that game's in Atlanta, so I expect that to be heavily Tennessee orange. But Fran Brown's going to have a team that's ready to go, ready to play. That's going to be a really entertaining matchup. Circle that one on your calendar. But again, basically the same schedule you had before. I believe that a 10-win season should be treated as an absolute win for Tennessee. And I'm going to tell you why. I also want to remind you that we have an audio podcast on Apple and Spotify, where if you go to Apple, Spotify, leave us a 5-star review, fill out the link in the description below. I will send you one of these really cool and nifty stickers, along with a thank you note, because I realize a sticker's a sticker, but a thank you note from me, because it means that much to me. We're fast approaching 500 ratings on Apple and 200 ratings on Spotify. It'd be great to get to both of those numbers by the end of the month, with media days just around the corner. I think that Tennessee can get to 10 wins because Georgia might be the loss, right? And then somebody else is going to be good on your menu. Oklahoma, Florida, Syracuse. We're going to look up and say, oh, yeah, once again, that team turned out to be that team. And I say this because the SEC is always loaded. At the end of last season, 7 of the 16 teams in the SEC were ranked. 7 of what makes up a top 25, right? That has been true for most of our lives at this point. We got to take it back like 2000. Last time we could think of the SEC not being that great. But, Steve Spurrier's fun and gun at Florida was good. Pat Fulmer's Tennessee was good. These are 90s teams that I'm talking about. And now you have to deal with programs that we didn't have to deal with in the past, like Ole Miss, Missouri, I mean, A&M hasn't won much, but they could always go get you. Texas is back. Like, it's a loaded league, and you know it's a loaded league. So getting 10 wins is on the menu, I think, because that's what it's going to take to get into the college football playoff. You're running through the gauntlet that is this thing. Like, every time I do a 136, and I'm polishing the 136 right now, where I rank all 136 teams, and it's usually about a 25,000 word document that has my own flair and my own, let's say voice in it. But I take some real pride in these things. We did it last year. It was really cool, the Ultimate 136. 134 last year, 136 this year, because we had Delaware and Missouri State. And I'm looking at Tennessee, and it's a top 25 team for me. It just is, right? But that's because of the schedule. And the schedule for each one of these SEC teams is just, my God, every other week, save those FCS cupcake games, you got a monster to play. And I mean that. Like, Vanderbilt is no longer anybody's doormat. Auburn jumped up and bit A&M in a year where Auburn sucked. You can keep going down the line on this. The only team that was garbage last year was Mississippi State. And even they gave Georgia a scare for a little bit. You can't, it's week in and week out in this league. And I think that is also, as an Oklahoma fan, something you're getting used to, right? Oklahoma lorded over the Big 12. That's not an exaggeration. It belonged to OU. Matter of fact, Oklahoma hadn't had a losing season until 2022 since 1998. And then year one of the SEC, you go 6-6. That ain't what Oklahoma football is meant to do. Like, it is a monster. We are the place where you win and win and win and win 47 straight. That's our record. You know what I mean? This league is ridiculous. This league is also awesome. This league is also really, really cool. I love the fans. I love how we could care less about the NFL and the SEC, even as, like, Georgia football has to compete with Atlanta Falcons, even as Florida football has to compete with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Texas team's got to compete with Dallas and Houston. You know, you got your two schools, and by schools I mean NFL and college, and they rarely mingle. But in the SEC, they never mingle. Everybody understands that you play football on Saturday, you go to church on Sunday. Then when you get home, you watch some football, right? But that's the order. The order is we go to church twice. We go to church on Saturday. We go to this cathedral that is our stadium, and then we go to church, of your persuasion, right? From non-denominational to Catholic to Episcopalian to Lutheran to African Methodist to Southern Methodist to Southern Baptist. But we can all go, hey, wasn't it great that Oklahoma got that win against Texas the next day? I love that stuff, man. I do. You tell me, though, what do you think the over-under is for Tennessee? Because I think the over-under, I'm going to set it at 9. I know that's a little high for some. Some people got it as low as 7.5. Again, I think they can meet that. You got to get on the good foot, because the stat to know, the one that I was teasing to start this segment, is 185. Over the last 3 years, Tennessee's football team is 23-0 when it rushes for 185 yards or more. They were 8-0 last year when they rushed for 185 yards or more. So as much as we want to say Josh Heupel wants to throw the ball down the field, and they will, they'll try it. They'll unleash a couple of goes, a couple of posts that hit home runs. They are at their best when they're pushing 200 yards rushing each game. Lets defense play, and it lets the offense breathe, and it wears out your opponent. If they can get to 185 in 10 games, I think they're going to go win all 10 of those games. 185 yards rushing, that is what you want to do if you are the University of Tennessee in 2025 each and every game. You get to 185 yards rushing, and then you sit on the ball. And you can do this and win a national championship. You can. You don't have to be the team that airs it out. It helps, but you don't have to. The reason I say this is realize that there is only one 1,000-yard receiver in University of Georgia football history. One. Not one in the last 10 years, not one in the last 20 years, one ever. And I've given this stat before, so maybe you heard it, but if you haven't, without looking up, try to name this wide receiver. I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. It's not A.J. Green. It's not George Pickens. It's not Brock Bowers. It's not even Hines Ward. It's not Champ Bailey. It's Terrence Edwards, 2002, who had 1,004 yards receiving, to which I'm sure, like, in a Georgia SID's like, damn, we should have told them that keep him at 999. We should have shortened him 5 yards so we can keep this zero intact. And the reason I point that out is, remember, Georgia went back-to-back with national championships 2021, 2022, and did not need a 1,000-yard receiver. You don't need it. You can run the football and play amazing defense and win championships, even now, even in the modern game. 185. Forget the 300 yards passing. Forget the 40 points a game. Forget holding people to fewer than 13 points per game. Hit 185, run the football well. Everything else will take care of itself. That's how it feels. That's how I think it's going to go. If you can get to 185, maybe you make the college football playoff. Maybe you don't get run by Ohio State after talking so much noise. Either way, this is going to be a fun team to watch because Heupel knows what he has, and I like what he has, and nobody wants it as bad as the University of Tennessee seems to want it.